So, 3 years before I worked for Paul McCartney, I worked for Yoko Ono. And when I was up for the McCartney gig, the first thing, one of the first things they said to me was, "Whatever you do, don't tell him you worked for Yoko." So I never told McCartney that. But anyway, with Yoko, it was she wanted to do. She did a cover of a John Lennon song on his first solo called "Love." You all know it. And she wanted to do a music video, so I got hired to direct it. And the producer was he didn't. The dude had no experience. A good guy and everything, but he had no experience. He was the producer just by virtue of the fact that one, he was Japanese, and two, he knew Yoko Ono personally. And so he says to me, Yoko wants you to. She wants a complete script for the music video. Now, typically music videos would be the treatment or the synopsis would be just a couple of paragraphs, half a page. That's it. You don't write a full script. And I tried to tell this to the guy, and he goes, "Well, that's what she wants." And so I had to write a full script, So I wrote a full script, and I gave it to the guy, and he read it. Like I said, he had no experience. He says, "This is good, but what's all this stuff?" I said, "What stuff?" He said, "Like, what does this mean?" It says, "CU," the letter CU, Yoko's face. I said, "Oh, CU means close up. Just like MS means medium shot and LS means long shot. So it's a close up of Yoko's face." He goes, "Well, if you're trying to say close up, write down close up. She's not going to understand what that means, CU thing." I said, "What? Are you kidding me? Yoko Ono," this was 1990. Yoko Ono has been a filmmaker for 25 years, at least. She's made dozens, if not more, hundreds of films, at least in the many dozens of films, on her own and in collaboration with John Lennon." He said, "Really? Have you seen these films?" I said, "No, because I hear that they're shit." So no, I haven't seen them, but she's made them, so she's going to know what CU means. So then, about a week later, we're at the Dakota residence, and I'm supposed to meet Yoko. We're waiting for her to come out, and then she comes out, and my friend, the producer guy, goes. I'm trying not to say his name, but the producer guy goes, "This is Michael. He's going to direct the video. He loves your films." Meanwhile, what I said to him is that I'd never seen her films. And I heard that they stunk to high heaven anyway. And Yoko looked at me, she's like, "Oh, you love my films." Kind of a very imperious manner. "Which film of mine is your favorite?" she says to me. And I couldn't even think of any titles, But then I remembered one. I actually did see one on the Dick Cavett show. They showed part of one when John and Yoko were on. And it was like a fly walking around on a woman's naked body. And I said, "Oh, yeah, my favorite is Flies." She said, "It's called Fly. It is not plural." I said, "Oh, all right, okay." So anyway, we're going to do the video, and I guess she's lazy. She said, "I want to shoot it at Strawberry Fields." So it's like a 1-minute walk from her building. That's about as far as she's willing to travel for this fucking thing. And okay. And she says, "I want to film at 6. I want to meet at 6 a.m. I was like, "What?" I didn't like to get up early in those days, And I saw no reason for it. We needed good sunlight, good afternoon sunlight. And I said, "Why so early?" She said, "Because of my fans. I don't want my fans to be there bothering me." And I'm thinking, is that really going to be a problem? I mean, you're Yoko Ono. But anyway, so we did it. And I'm there at 6 waiting for her. About 10 minutes before she shows up, it's not even 6 in the morning yet, and a big bus pulls up, in front of the entrance to to Strawberry Fields. And all these Japanese schoolgirls are getting off the bus. Dozens of them. And they're all surrounding the mosaic that says "Imagine" and taking pictures and stuff and throwing roses down and stuff. And then they look up and they see Yoko walking towards them. to the Imagine Mosaic. So they went nuts, and they rushed at her, and she looked at me like, in her mind, "Yeah, I told you this would happen." But anyway, so there, she was gracious enough. The kids were bowing and everything, and going crazy. So anyway, that kind of dissipated, and just northeast of the Imagine Mosaic is a nice stretch of grass and trees, in there. And we were shooting there, and Yoko said, "I want to kiss a tree in the video." I said, "All right, fine." And I said, "How about that one?" And she said, "No, no, no, I have a tree in mind." And she walked over to this tree. Now, this was a unique tree. It had it was like four trunks. They sort of split off from each other, and they shared the same root, underground, presumably. And the fourth trunk had a smaller, more slender trunk growing off of it, literally growing off of it. It wasn't really a branch, it was another trunk. So anyway, I thought, okay, she's going to kiss this tree. And she did, whatever. We did the thing, and she's kissing the tree and stuff. And anyway, a few months later, on the anniversary of John Lennon's death, I decided to, pay a visit to the Strawberry Fields place, sort of to pay tribute to the man. And so I went. And all the people with their guitars singing and all this crap, out-of-tune versions of Beatles songs. So I decided to wander off, and I spotted that tree. I said, "Oh, I'll take a little visit over there and say hi to the tree." There was no one in there, it was just because everyone was concerned with the mosaic of Imagine and stuff. So I walked over, and I walked over to the tree, and with the four trunks growing out of a single base, that means there's going to be sort of a well in the middle of it. And I look in, and there's a lily in there, a lily, a funeral flower, a lily, on the anniversary of John Lennon's death. Now, I can understand why someone would leave a lily on the mosaic to honor John Lennon, but why would someone put it there, of all places, where it can't even be seen by a passerby? And then I thought, fucking Yoko. That's when I realized what this tree meant to her, because I looked up, because there was no foliage or anything, so you got a clear view through the spidery branches of the other trees to the Dakota, and I could see Yoko's windows, and I realized, I imagined if she was standing there in the window, she'd have a perfect view of this tree. And so I think the tree had a symbolic significance to her, which, upon reflection, four trunks growing from a single root, four Beatles, one slender, delicate trunk growing from the fourth trunk, or the first trunk probably, Yoko growing from John. So I think that's what it represented to her. And, that's probably, she probably goes to that window and looks out at that tree every once in a while and just remembers her life with John Lennon.